The Vorthak delegation descended from their orbital command ship with the pomp and circumstance of conquerors who had never known defeat. Their sleek, crystalline forms caught the harsh light of Earth's sun as they stepped onto the landing platform. At the United Nations headquarters, each movement precise and calculated. Admiral Zekthar, resplendent in bioluminescent armor that pulsed with the colors of authority, carried himself with the confidence of someone who had witnessed 1,000 worlds kneel before the might of the Vorthak Empire. Behind him, his entourage of lesser nobles clicked their mandibles in what passed for conversation among their species. Their discussion centered on the anticipated spectacle of yet another primitive species, accepting their inevitable subjugation. They had done this countless times before across the galaxy. Arrive, demand submission, and watch as civilizations crumbled before their technological superiority. Secretary General Maria Santos stood waiting with a small delegation of Earth's representatives, her expression carefully neutral despite the churning anxiety in her stomach. The translation devices hummed to life as Admiral Zekthar approached, his voice emerging as a metallic drone that somehow managed to convey supreme arrogance. "Primitive inhabitants of this backwater world," he began, his words carrying the weight of absolute certainty. "I am Admiral Zekthar of the glorious Vorthak Empire. Your planet has been selected for incorporation into our vast dominion. You will kneel before the might of our fleet and surrender all military assets, technological innovations, and governmental authority to our benevolent rule." Secretary General Santos exchanged a glance with General Patterson, the grizzled military leader standing beside her. The general's weathered face remained impassive, but Santos caught the slight twitch at the corner of his mouth. The same expression he wore when he was about to spring a particularly nasty tactical surprise on training exercises. "Admiral," Santos replied with diplomatic courtesy, "while we appreciate your visit, I'm afraid Earth doesn't operate on a kneeling basis. Perhaps we could discuss this matter more thoroughly." The alien's bioluminescent patterns shifted to what the xenobiologists had identified as deep irritation. "There is nothing to discuss, primitive creature. Your compliance is not optional. Our scouts have analyzed your pitiful defensive capabilities. You possess no spaceborne military vessels. Your weapons technology is laughably primitive, and your political structure is fragmented beyond any hope of unified resistance." General Patterson stepped forward, his voice carrying the dry humor of a career soldier who had seen too much to be impressed by anyone's bluster. "Admiral, with all due respect, your scouts might have missed a few details." Zekthar's mandibles clicked dismissively. "Impossible. Vorthak reconnaissance is flawless. We have observed your primitive chemical rockets, your crude ballistic missiles, and your adorable attempts at atmospheric combat vehicles. You have no answer to our quantum phase weaponry or our adaptive shielding technology." "That's the thing about humans," Patterson said, his grin widening. "We're not particularly fond of being underestimated. Computer, initiate Operation Surprise Party." The holographic displays around the landing platform flickered to life, showing real-time imagery from various points throughout the solar system. Zekthar's confident posture faltered as the displays revealed the truth that his scouts had somehow missed entirely. Hidden within the asteroid belt, massive human dreadnoughts uncloaked themselves, their hulls bristling with weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Near Jupiter's moons, entire fleets of destroyers emerged from behind carefully positioned space stations that had been disguised as mining operations. And most shocking of all, from the dark side of Luna, a gargantuan carrier group revealed itself, its fighter bays already launching swarms of combat craft. "You see," Santos explained conversationally, "while your scouts were busy cataloging our primitive surface technology, they apparently failed to notice that we've been spacefaring for quite some time now. We just preferred to keep our military asset discreet." Admiral Zekthar's bioluminescent patterns now pulsed with what could only be described as panic. "This is impossible. Our intelligence indicated no significant space-based military presence." General Patterson chuckled. "Son, the first rule of human warfare is that if you can see our real strength, we're probably already dead. The second rule is that we're really, really good at making sure you can't see our real strength." The displays continued their devastating revelation. Human vessels emerged from behind every major celestial body in the inner system, each one bristling with technologies that should have been centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. The fleet that materialized around the Vorthak command ship wasn't just large, it was overwhelmingly, impossibly vast. How? Zekthar managed to ask, his voice now lacking any trace of its earlier arrogance. Well, Santos said, consulting a tablet with the casual air of someone reading a grocery list. It turns out that when you spend centuries fighting each other on a single planet, you get really good at two things: killing efficiently and hiding your capabilities until the last possible moment. When we finally started working together about 50 years ago, we applied those skills to a slightly larger battlefield. The tactical displays showed Vorthak ships throughout the system being systematically surrounded by human vessels that had seemingly materialized from nowhere. Not a shot had been fired, but the message was unmistakable. Earth's defenders outnumbered the invasion fleet by approximately 20-1. General Patterson's expression grew serious. Now, Admiral, let's discuss your surrender terms. Surrender terms? Zekthar sputtered, his bioluminescent display now a chaotic swirl of confusion and terror. Oh yes, Santos confirmed. You see, invading someone's home tends to make them rather upset, and humans have a particular talent for holding grudges. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to contact your empire and inform them that Earth is under the protection of the Human Defense Coalition. Any future attempts at invasion will be met with, well, let's call it a robust response. The Admiral's mandibles worked soundlessly for several moments before he managed to speak. The Empire will never accept such terms from a primitive species. That's unfortunate, Patterson said, his tone suggesting it was anything but. Computer, show the Admiral our long-range capability demonstration. The displays shifted to show a distant asteroid field. Without warning, beams of coherent energy lanced out from hidden human positions, systematically reducing the asteroids to their component atoms. The demonstration lasted exactly 30 seconds, but it was 30 seconds that completely redefined the balance of power in the solar system. Primitive species, Santos repeated thoughtfully. You know, Admiral, that's exactly what we were, hoping you'd think. As the Vorthak delegation was escorted back to their ship under the watchful gaze of human fighters, Admiral Zekthar found himself contemplating the uncomfortable truth that had just been revealed. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a small voice wondered how many other primitive species throughout the galaxy had been drastically underestimated by Vorthak's scouts. The human fleet maintained its positions as the alien vessels departed, a silent reminder that Earth's children had grown up, moved out, and were now quite capable of defending themselves. And in the depths of space, other ears were listening to the Vorthak emergency transmissions. Other eyes were watching the footage of humanity's reveal. And other minds were beginning to understand that the galaxy had just become a much more interesting place.